Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about, everything that's happening right now. I'm Charlie Eisenhood. He's Josh Mansfield, and we got a show for you today. I apologize for it being late, but
I take that apology back.
I don't actually, because we're literally getting news as we speak. And we have a lot to get to today. So, bear with us. It's going to be a doozy. Josh, how was your weekend? Let's just start with that. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was a good weekend. I don't remember much of it now. It feels like it was so long ago. I went to a wedding as well this weekend.
Oh, so very good.
I know you were at a wedding. I was at a wedding.
I was in the Mountain Time Zone. It was nice.
Fun story. At the wedding, the aunt of the bride, who was my wife's friend, got up and said, "You are like the daughter that I've always wished I had." And then goes, "Well, my daughter is here, but I just am really close to Emily," and then spent 5 minutes just backpedaling.
Oh, no.
And there was no recovery. It was incredibly awkward, and it was great.
Oh, no. There were the parent speeches at the wedding that I was at were spectacular. I mean, just pitch perfect, all different, like just on the edge of like being like, ooh, they shouldn't have said that, but that's kind of what you want. You don't want it to just be boring.
Right.
It was a lovely time. And I would like, you're doing the city council thing. Josh, I voted in the primary election here in New York today. So that's
good.
You and I. We're doing the same thing for our local communities. No, I hear there's good news in store for the city council in Pocatello. So we'll leave it at that. And we got to get into the disc golf. Look, we're going to talk about all the drama and the news later in the show. I want to start by talking about the DMC. Des Moines Challenge happened this weekend. Final regular season Elite Series stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. There's all these caveats lately because we do have a silver series after Worlds that's still a part of the regular season, but this was the last big one and one of the biggest payouts of the year. We'll talk about that in Purse Watch, and maybe after a very strange and clunky opening couple of days, maybe does the final round go down in MPO as the round of the year so far? I want to put that out there. We didn't talk about this on the React show, but I am curious to know if you think it meets that standard.
Round of the year.
It's up there.
I feel like there's another obvious one I'm forgetting, but maybe I'm not. Maybe.
Let's talk about what happened, and we can think on whether it deserves.
It's a great round. It's an amazing round.
It's a great round. It goes to a playoff. So Evan Smith comes into the round as the leader. Mm-hmm. Maybe you know Evan Smith, maybe you don't. I mean, pretty new name on tour, frankly, and kind of popped off in a Silver Series a couple weeks ago. But this, first time being at the top of the leaderboard going into the final round of an Elite Series event. Mm-hmm. And then, you got Simon Lizotte right there. And you got Robert Burridge, a name you're even less likely to know than Evan Smith, 2 strokes back. And you got Joel Freeman on the lead card. And we see this unfold as Evan Smith, again, struggling in a lead card situation. Simon Lizotte playing amazing disc golf once again. And Robert Burridge looking like he's the best player on the card. I mean, for most of that round, Robert Burridge made maybe 2 mistakes that whole round. Mm-hmm. And Simon Lizotte did just enough to card 5 birdies straight down the back, the final 5 holes to force a playoff, and then it go into a 4-hole playoff. I think definitely the best playoff of the year. We go all the way back to Drew versus Gannon at the beginning of the year and say maybe that was better. But I think the shot execution, the big putt from Burridge, the crazy stump gate on the final hole. It was a spectacular finish. Simon Lizotte gets the win in front of a raucous crowd in Iowa. And look, this was a super fun disc golf tournament, Josh.
It really was. And I think part of the big things about disc golf tournaments, and when you evaluate their excitement, the hype that they have, it also has to involve controversy. It has to involve things that really get people engaged, because one of the hardest things about disc golf is it's hard to root against people in disc golf. People love Simon. Robert is a young and incredibly low-rated player to be competing at this level on an Elite Series.
1,009.
Crazy.
Would have
low.
easily been the lowest-rated Elite Series winner ever had he won.
He would have been the lowest Elite Series winner since the 1,003 rated Chris Sprague won the 2005 Kansas City Wide Open. That's courtesy of Stat Mando. So, we've got a bunch of stats about Robert Burridge and the just insane finish that it would have been for him to win. So both of those are exciting, right? It's hard to root against either of them, but to have the Mando rule, the very controversial Mando rule, come into effect, where Simon gets penalized on hole 12 for a disc that kicks backwards into the restricted space after making the Mando, that adds controversy. You then have the stump gate. But both of those just make for exciting and compelling storylines that make this round stick in your head and make for just a heck of a final round.
Well, I want let's since we talked about them, let's just go into them for a second. Mando rule.
Yes.
You can't cross the restricted side of the Mando ever for any reason. That is the rule now. It changed in the off season and it's been in place. And this is really the first time I know of, at least for a high level tournament, where it's come into play.
Yep.
Simon makes the Mando, bad shot, but it makes the Mando, and then watching it was hard to tell exactly what happened. Did it roll back across? Did it fly back across?
From based on the commentary, it sounds like it hits a tree, kicks almost perfectly horizontal, and then bumps back. And if you look at the caddy book map, the Mandos, because this is a double Mando hole, they're a little bit offset, where the Mando that Simon kicks back across is set forward a little bit. So he makes that first Mando, kind of kicks back and flies back and above to the restricted space is what it looks like. So maybe a double kick. I think it's because it's on that hill, I would assume it has to be an air redirect, not a cut roll.
Yeah. So this is the rule. The rules were correctly applied.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the rule now that we are seeing this circumstance, which was discussed, actually play out?
It was discussed, and I saw the images. Here's why this is a rule here, or here's the description, how it can now be applied. And I thought, oh, we'll never see this. This is never going to happen in an important event.
There's always a way in golf, Josh.
There's always a way. I hate it. I hate this rule. This is ridiculous. Like, the fact that Simon lost a stroke. Now, here's the interesting question. I didn't see where his lie was. He may have benefited from being at the drop zone, because where he was at in the woods up on the hill may have led to a really tricky lie.
Yeah, but you saved the stroke.
But you saved the stroke, right? So it's give or take there. I don't know. I wasn't on the ground. It's hard to see. But regardless, I hate the rule now. I think it's ridiculous that Simon, after making the Mando and trying to play the Mando safe, then still misses because of the tree direct backwards. Not a fan.
I completely disagree.
Really?
I think the rule makes sense. I think the rule is applied correctly in this situation. Now, listen, I understand that it feels unfair for him to make the Mando and then be penalized for going backwards across the Mando.
Sure.
But think about why the rule is in place. The rule is in place because maybe you have a situation where you have a Mando at a spot where you really don't want people throwing the disc to the wrong side of the Mando, whether because of safety reasons or whatever else. You don't want discs over there.
Right.
This creates a bright line. We don't have to know. We don't have to necessarily see that it went through this way or the other way. You just are able to say it clearly, because of where it is, went through the restricted plane that is created, by the Mando that you have to set up as a tournament director. And then there's no questions. It's just like, no, you went to the wrong side of this thing that you're not allowed to go over there. Now, in this situation, obviously there's not a safety issue, but I think the clarity of the rule makes it a good rule. And yes, these situations are probably going to be extremely rare, but if you throw a bad enough shot to end up in a situation like this, and to be clear, it was a bad shot by Simon. He's lucky to have made the Mando in the first place. That, I think, is fine. I think it's fine for you to get punished for that. And I understand why it feels bad based on the old rule, but like this removes ambiguity. The old Mando rule had a lot of ambiguity, and that's why they changed it, because it was too gray area all the time.
Okay, counterpoint. Number one, if the spirit of the Mando rule is not to cross the restricted plane for safety purposes, tell me how, imagine it was safety. Put a line of small children on that restricted space, right? Tell me how they are any safer because Simon is penalized for it going backwards when he never meant to go anywhere near that Mando line. Okay, so that's number one.
I don't really have an argument there. If you build a playground right off to the side of a disc golf course and say, well, you can't go over there, there's a Mando, people are still going to go over there.
Right. Like, if the disc comes back, like, they didn't try. They weren't like, oh, I could get a competitive advantage by getting it to kick backwards over this playground at the small children. Second point, if you want clarity, why not create the permissible plane that says, here's the line on the left side of the Mando. Once it breaks that plane, you can no longer be penalized by the Mando. Just as clear. It doesn't have ridiculous situations where it's kicked backwards.
It's like in Star Wars where you can like shoot the blaster through the one side of the whatever it is, the force field, but you can't shoot in the other way. Yeah. I hear you. I mean, that's basically how it worked before.
But
I like the clarity. I like the clarity. I can see why it's weird to have it, but this is a specific circumstance in this specific case. There are going to be other Mando situations where it may make more sense to have it be, you may not cross this line, period. Or be in this restricted zone, period. I like the clarity.
All right. I think I argue you can have equal clarity, but when you find a case where the backwards kick is deserving to be punished like this, for the spirit of the rule's sake, I will be ready to hear that argument.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about what Simon was able to do this weekend. It's his third Elite Series win of the season. That ties him with Ricky Wysocki for the most wins on tour. It revitalizes for me, the story of Simon this year. I mean, weren't we literally I think on Thursday's show, we're talking about how remember when Simon won back-to-back tournaments and, kind of as a joke, he's fallen off a little bit. Not that he's fallen off, but he hasn't been finishing up at the top, threatening to win. And now here he is winning again. He wins $11,000, biggest paycheck of his career for winning a tournament. And, I think as we discussed a little bit in our Rapid React segment for subscribers, he is back in the mix for Player of the Year conversations. I don't know that I put him at the top, but I do think that he clearly is at a point where, if he wins a major to close out this year, he could win it. He would probably be the favorite to win it if he wins one major.
Yeah, I think so too. And because right now your major winners are Eagle McMahon, who is not on tour, and Chris Dickerson, who really hasn't done anything else for us besides win the major, which, big deal. But so you have two major winners who haven't really done anything else on tour. You have Ricky, who also has 3 wins, and then you have Simon. And I think those are your candidates right now. I don't know who else you could convincingly argue could be Player of the Year. Now, you have plenty of players with 2 and 1 wins that if they win a major as well, definitely have to be considered in the discussion. Even still, though, I really think, for Player of the Year, do you put Ricky as front runner?
Yes.
I think so. I think Ricky's front runner with probably Simon in second place. I think that's...
I mean, wins are wins, right? I think...
They are.
The players who've been really consistent, Gannon Burr, doesn't have an elite win.
Paul Macbeth only has one.
Macbeth has not been super consistent. Kyle Klein's been playing great lately. I mean, he's been all over the top 10, but I mean, obviously, he's not even in the conversation. He hasn't come as close as Gannon has to a win this season. And then who are the two win guys? Calvin, but like
Calvin's got two, but
none of them have been so much better than Simon in other finishes for me to feel like it outweighs him getting 3 wins and other podiums and top 10s.
Right. Yeah, because that's the thing is, while Simon did cool off, his cool off period was 22nd at Idlewild, 16th at the European Open, 26th at Ledgestone, but still featured a podium at Preserve, a top 10 finish at D-Glow, and now a win at DMC. So, an up-down stretch by all means, but not all things considered, not a terrible stretch.
Well, I think what's, incredibly promising for Simon is that, he was throwing the disc great and he was electric with the putter. Mm-hmm. And this was the thing that took him to the wins earlier this year as well. He went 100% inside the circle and he hit 31% circle 2. That's not, an incredible number, but it's an elite number. Mm-hmm. I think he's only, there were players who had better weekends on the putting green, but that's because they hit a million circle 2 putts. Right. Simon was so good off the tee, he didn't have to put himself in that many positions. He was 4th in strokes gained tee to green, and he was right up there, almost 6 strokes gained on the putting green. Like, this is the recipe for Simon. Like, don't miss inside the circle and throw it like you're capable of. Mm-hmm. And he didn't let the bad breaks get him down either.
He has an ability. I think he's the least affected by 1 or 2 bad breaks and the most affected by a string of bad breaks. Because he can take a bad break and then turn around and laugh at the camera and just keep rolling with it. I think it can happen a second time, and then they start stringing together, and it looks like Simon just comes off the rails.
He goes off the cliff. Yeah,
is gone. But I don't want to get too much into World's Talks. I know we have a lot to discuss. But the one thing I want to say, Simon, who took 2nd at DDO this year, let me give you his courses where he's got a top 10 finish, and then his courses where he was outside the top 10.
Okay.
Inside the top 10, Jonesboro, OTB, Portland, Preserve, D-Glow, and DMC. Outside the top 10, Ledgestone, European Open, Idlewild, and Champions Cup. I think there's a very distinguishing feature of all the courses he finished outside the top 10, and it's that they're heavily wooded or have a heavily wooded course in the case of Ledgestone. European Open maybe being that exception. Guess what? There's not a tree around in Emporia, so Simon is going to be looking great. I think just the courses that he's played well at this year set up so nicely for Worlds, and he gets back on one at DMC, takes down a win the weekend before. You got to think he's feeling good.
Got to feel confident in the putter. Mm-hmm. Got to feel confident going back to Emporia. I mean, why not?
Why not?
Hilarious to think that after the way that things got started this year, that like Eagle and Simon are arguably like the favorites to win at Emporia. No, I mean, obviously Ricky's in the conversation too, and we're going to get all into that in our Thursday show, as well as an early release preview show, second preview show next week. So I don't want to dig too far there either. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Simon is absolutely in the conversation for players who can win world championships.
Yep.
I think the thing that strikes against him is that he doesn't typically play particularly well at the majors. I mean, he said it in the post-round interview. It's like, I don't really know what it is, but I just don't play very well at the majors. Maybe he turns it around here. I mean, everything is lined up for him to succeed. What's the knock? I don't even see one.
Nope.
I don't even see one. He could absolutely win. Let's talk about Robert Burridge. Incredibly impressive performance from Burridge, the AM champion. We're excited. We're going to be talking to him tomorrow on our interview series. So join us for that to learn more about him and his career so far and what this is going to mean for him. But look, he was nails in the pressure of a final round where we watched Evan Smith for the second time in a lead card situation struggle, throwing OB. Just, you can see how the elements of Evan Smith's game are going to lead him to success. But Burridge showed us the mental side as well. And just no fear out there. Canning big putts, out throwing Simon on drives, not affected by the moment, having fun out there and just seeming to be a perfect fit. Is it hard for you to imagine him being up at the top of the, leaderboard week in and week out in the future?
The way he played was exceptional. It's the hardest part about it, though, is when you look back, 1,009 rated. We don't. Not only do we not consider 1,009 rated guys winning tournaments, we don't even talk about them because we barely have any space for 1,010 rated guys. It's not till the 1,020s that we even start to care about you on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. For Evan Burridge to do what he did was just, I mean, look.
It's Robert Burridge. I know Evan Smith combo in the brain.
Thank you. For Robert Burridge to do what he did is so unbelievable given where his rating is at now. Either we need to see his rating accelerate quickly to catch up with where his game is that it looked like this weekend, or this was a once in a lifetime performance and we just might not see him again for years because he played so above where he's at.
I don't buy it though. I don't see a flash in the pan type vibe from the performance that we saw from him. Now, you're not wrong. Look, he was 1,006 rated in April 2021. He's now 1,009 rated. He hasn't really moved. Now, to his credit, he went from 968 rated in the middle of 2020 up to 1,000 rated, just a few months later. So, he already made one of those leaps. Are we maybe going to see him make another one? I don't know. It's far too early to say something like that, but he does have a lot of round ratings above his rating the last couple months. I mean, a lot of 1030 rated rounds, include at Elite Series. He shot a 1037 rated round at OTB Open. He shot a 1035 rated round at the Champions Cup, 1047 rated round at the Champions Cup. The consistency isn't there yet. It's not there yet. I think it's fair to say that, but I think what we saw this weekend is these are the kinds of moments and the kinds of tournaments that can take a player and give them self-belief that they can hang at this level. And I don't know. I feel your skepticism. Even if you're not watching on YouTube, the silence from Josh there tells you the skepticism. I think it's fair, but I really think he can throw it a mile. He can hit huge putts under pressure. This is the signs to me of a player who is going to be able to be successful long-term on tour. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's going to be the next major champion, but he won an amateur title. He's been coming up in the local scene. People know who this guy is. He's just young. He's still in college. He plays ultimate frisbee at the University of Michigan, and I think we're seeing the seeds of somebody who's going to have a long-term future on tour, if that's something that he chooses.
Sure. That's fair. I think it's a compelling argument. I think you make a fine argument for why that might be the case. Let's running through a quick couple of stats. This was only his 6th Elite Series and major start. His previous best finish was 42nd. Charlie, as you mentioned, he is the 2021 MA1 US AMS winner, as well as this year's College Disc Golf Singles Championship winner. The craziest stat to me, though, and these are all courtesy of Stat Mando, of course, is that Burridge would have blown away for the record for the number of days between his first cash and his first Elite Series or major win, which would have been 294 for Burridge. Wysocki holds the record at 441 days right now, and then the next closest MPO player in the modern era is Schusterich at 1,154 days. Wow. You've got to think Wysocki's number is not going to hold. I think the prestige of the amateur titles hold too much weight these days that people are waiting longer and longer to go MPO in order to compete for those amateur titles and then come out ready for the tour and capable of winning an Elite Series event at a rate faster than ever before.
That's the way it's supposed to work, I think.
I think so too.
And think about this. He takes home $7,000 for his second place finish. That's more than most of these guys Schustrick probably ever won in his damn career. If for winning a tournament. I mean, things are changing quick out here, but yeah, listen, it was amazing to watch him be able to stand up to the pressure of that moment, because I think most players in that situation, understandably, don't.
Yeah.
It's all of a sudden you have a massive crowd, people going nuts, Simon hitting putts and forcing you to hit long birdie putts, and you make them. Now, the counterpoint, of course, is that he had chances to win this tournament. He made some key mistakes. He missed that big putt in the playoff. It was a tough putt. It was a circle's edge putt, but he could have hit it, and he didn't.
Yep.
That was hole one. They push, and then, who knows what happens if he doesn't hit the stump inside circle one in the playoff and skip basically to about 60 feet. He chooses to lay up, and Simon cashes the putt. Do you like first of all, there's nothing you can do. He threw a great shot. He got unlucky. That's disc golf. Do you like that he laid up, or do you think he should have tried to put it in?
I've seen people who say that, he should have putted it because, Simon had been lights out all weekend. With OB, downhill putt, OB behind. I don't think he runs it, because if he goes OB, Simon lays up. There's he just gets a free layup, tap out, done.
Free win.
Free win. At least in this case, Simon has to think about, what if I hit that tree that's to my right? What if I hit the cage and roll OB? What if there are things that Simon still has to think about, even if he has been a good circle two putter that weekend? I think it was the right decision. I think it was a mature decision. I don't have any knocks on that choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think what would the conversation be if he runs it and misses and it goes into the water? Is the conversation, what are you thinking running it there from 60 feet? You just give Simon the win, make him make the putt. It's easy for me to hear that conversation. On the other hand, Simon had not missed from inside the circle all weekend. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why you would expect it to happen there. To me, it's like just thinking about the risk reward there. You're choosing a known risk of Simon making that putt, 85, 90% of the time, versus the 15% chance that you bounce into the water. I mean, I don't know what the number is.
Sure.
And for what's the odds you make the putt there? 15%?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. The UDisc has it recorded as a 38-foot putt, and I thought it was circle two as well when I saw it.
You're talking about Simon's.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, right, if Simon's inside the circle, I think that's a whole nother ball game. That is probably you need to run the putt if Simon's inside the circle. Outside the circle, though,
even a couple steps outside maybe is enough of a difference maker.
I think so. I mean, like you said, imagine if the 1,009 rated guy runs that putt and goes OB. I mean, it's the young guy. He was immature, shouldn't have made that choice. I mean, that's the narrative, I think, without a doubt. My biggest knock on Robert is hole 15, a hole that only 15 guys in the entire field bogeyed on day 3. Everybody was getting lots of birdies, but tons and tons and tons of pars, and it was just a poor upshot that led to him.
Well, it was two mistakes.
It was two mistakes. That's true.
He makes a mistake off the tee. Mm-hmm. He throws the out. It was pretty decent out, and then he throws the poor upshot.
Yes. And off the tee, you make a mistake, fine. That happens. But the poor upshot, in addition to on that hole, I think is just it's pretty. That's a bad mistake when you're going down the stretch.
No question.
trying to make the win. That's my biggest knock there against Robert, really, is at that hole.
The thing is, that was like the only mistake he made the whole round.
I know.
Like, I'm not even really exaggerating. Like, yeah, he didn't birdie every hole, but he birdied 6 in a row from 5 to 10, shot a 7 under in the front 9, and was playing out of his mind. Mm-hmm. And like the times when he was taking par, he was mostly making good decisions after like an errant shot.
Yep.
But you're not wrong. Like you can't bogey 15 there.
No.
But really excellent stuff from him. Excited to see if there's more to come in the future. An interesting top 10 this week, Josh, before we talk FPO. Emerson Keith, Kevin Jones, Joel Freeman, Evan Smith, all tied for third. Couple interesting names on that list. Obviously, Joel Freeman is just like continuing to be that guy who like finishes on the podium, but never seems to put it all the way together to win. He's got all the pieces. He's got the tools. Watch him throw the forehand, the backhand. Like he's got the tools. But I want to talk about Kevin Jones and Emerson Keith. Does it make you excited that they could come out at Worlds and make things interesting? Because we're talking about Worlds Whisperer Emerson Keith here. And it's that time again, Josh. Worlds is here. Look who's back.
Worlds Whisperer Emerson Keith, who on Ricky Wysocki's Instagram story got carded and then got his ID run and called in by the cops because they didn't believe he was overage when he was trying to buy something to drink. So I love that. First off, I mean, no, it doesn't. Emerson Keith plays well at the majors. I would, if Emerson Keith came in top 5 at the Worlds next week, I wouldn't be shocked. It is just kind of, as you said, Worlds Whisperer, Emerson Keith. It's when he shows up, we talk about it, we joke about it, but it's because there's truth behind it. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's in the position to win it. And after a really hot start to last year's Worlds, he began to fall off the pace. And I just don't think Emerson Keith has been demonstrating the consistency to put it together for 5 rounds. Kevin Jones, look, a 7 under in the final round when the hot round is 11, and he then goes from 13 to 18, a stretch that Simon, mind you, did 5 under, and Kevin goes even. No, he had a good tournament, nothing spectacular, and I'm not going to penalize a couple of players. Like, I'm not taking Macbeth or Wysocki out of my Worlds conversation because they had a bad tournament, and I'm not going to put Kevin Jones in it because he had a good tournament here. Just 10, I think it was 10, probably 1042 rated golf, doing quick math in my head for Kevin Jones.
Solid, but not spectacular.
No, that's not, I would be surprised if you podium with 1042 rated golf at Worlds.
You ready for the stat of the day?
Yeah, hit me with it.
This comes from Darren LeMay,
okay,
Ultra Disc Golf Reporter. For the first time in over 11 years, Paul Macbeth and Ricky Wysocki playing in the same tournament both finished outside the top 10. It has not happened since, what is the tournament? The 2011 World Championships in Santa Cruz, when they were both basically at the beginning of their careers.
Wow.
And so Wysocki finished in 57th, missed the cash. Macbeth finished tied for 16th. The two most dominant major champions of the last 10 years. And I got to be honest, I don't think it matters. I think it's the fascinating stat, but I don't think it matters. Throw it out. Ricky playing bad at DMC, so what? Such a weird, we haven't even really talked about it because we talked about it in the React show, so check it out. But like, weird start.
Yes.
The first round gets suspended. A bunch of guys have to play 2 rounds in a day.
Yep.
The weather was weird. It was like more difficult conditions for the players who had to come out and play 2 rounds on day 2. This was a strange tournament that was sort of salvaged by a really great final round.
I also salvaged by a great final round. Macbeth shot the course record 12 under in round 2, jumped up 99 spots.
I need to know the stats. How many tournaments where Macbeth has not been in contention this season, has he shot a course record or a tournament high rated round? It is like a crazy number.
Stat Mando, we know you're busy, but we have another project for you.
This is a crazy thing, but yeah, classic Macbeth.
Classic Macbeth. The one other thing I'll add, just as a quick, this can go in at the end, I guess, but we haven't even gotten FPO yet. With MPO, first off, with the weird weather thing, if I'm Ricky, I'm just packing up my van and going to Emporia. Like, if on Friday they're like, sorry guys, you're not playing until 2 rounds tomorrow, I just throw my bag in the car and just head off. Like, why stay at that point? No knock against these guys going into Worlds because of how they played at DMC. On the flip side, though, I know Drew Gibson tweeted about this, or had it on his Instagram, and I've seen a couple other people who said the same thing. They said that DMC was run incredibly well, that the tournament staff were incredibly coordinated, and despite the weird weather, that it was just such a professional event. So big shout out for a great tournament staff, despite having the first storm in over a month that, of course, lands on tournament weekend.
Of course. Well, I mean, that's a perfect segue into our purse watch. $100,525 total purse. It's the 4th tournament this year to crack the 6-figure purse mark. It is the second highest payout on the Disc Golf Pro Tour after the Ledgestone last weekend. It is the highest ever 3-round tournament payout. $62,500 in added cash. That's the 3rd highest of the season. $11,000 MPO winner payout. That's the highest on the Disc Golf Pro Tour this year. $7,000 for the FPO winner, Kristen Tattar, who we'll talk about in a moment. And the purse up more than 60% from 2021. And remember, Josh, they were the first tournament to really kick the 60K mark off last year. And now they're hitting that 100K mark. This tournament is it's interesting because on the course alone, this is not an obvious Elite Series event. It's a good course. It's a fun course, but it's not like, oh wow, it's not Maple Hill.
No.
But they are staking a claim to be a consistent year in, year out Elite Series event on the tour because they are getting crowds, getting sponsors, making a big purse, and delivering high quality disc golf entertainment. Simple as that.
When the Pro Tour sits down next year and goes through their bids for the Elite Series events, the tournament that sets the record, the single record for a 3-day tournament payout, is going to be on that list. I don't care about any of the other peripherals. If you do that, you're going to consistently have a tournament, an Elite Series in your town.
Let's talk about Kristen Tattar. She shot the highest rated round of the season in FPO. 10:33 it now comes in. It was 10:32 for a while, but it looks like it's going to be finalized at 10:33. It's her 3rd win of the year. She has not missed the podium this season. 14 for 14. She's got let's see. I mean, there's a million things you could go to here. Go ahead.
That 14 for 14 is not just this year. That is in her career.
That's right. Elite Series and Majors career, which is just insane. Now, keep in mind, she hasn't been playing in the U.S. or at majors for that many years.
Right.
But it is still an insane stat. She was dominant. I mean, look, she was dominant. And, Evelina Salonen had an opportunity to make it interesting in the final round. She had an opportunity to get a 2-shot swing in the middle of the round, and she missed a bunny putt. And it was those kinds of things that, as has been the case all season, have held Evelina back. Although there were still spots where she was hitting good putts and looking more confident, as we've seen more of late. But look, this is Kristen Tattar, coming into the final round with a 4-shot lead. Just not a problem. She just looked totally in control and put together one of the best rounds you're going to see in a long time.
The biggest thing that makes me optimistic for Kristen Tattar going into Worlds is her tournament management. It's a compliment that we often give to people like Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen, but I think Kristen Tattar is maybe doesn't do it quite in a way that's quite as flashy, but she manages a lead perhaps better than anybody else in the world, because it isn't just a put the pedal to the metal, keep pushing. It's a refined, knows where she's at in the field and plays well around that lead in a way that it's just, one question mark, like you said, when Evelina could have pulled a 2-stroke swing, I think putting her within 1.
Yes.
But instead stays within 2. And after that, no question marks on Kristen Tattar's final round. Was that round an exceptional round? No. It was a 1-under. It was fine. There were 3 rounds that were better than hers and a handful that were tied with hers in that final, she had the 5-under in the final round. There was the 6-under from Kona that was better. The 5 from Evelina ties her for that round, and then a couple of 4s in that final round. It was a round 2 that was not bad. That 5-under is great. It's good. She played well, but at no point did it ever feel like she was out of control in that final round or ever losing control. And that's just what's so exceptional about Kristen Tattar.
Is she the player of the year right now? The season ended today.
No, she's not. I think 2 majors is really hard to argue with. Because, Paige has both majors, but then she also has Texas State.
2 of 3. 2 of 3.
2 of 3. Yes.
U.S. women's
goes to Haley King.
Correct.
So Paige has 2 of 3, but she also has Texas State's, OTB, and Preserve. So while she not only ties Kristen for Elite Series wins, but also adds 2 majors on top of it, I think if Kristen wins Worlds,
now we're talking.
Now we're
having a conversation.
Right. She still needs Throw Pink. I think she still needs Throw Pink or the Pro Tour Championship.
I don't know. I think she could win only 1 major if Paige only has the 2 this season.
Okay.
And doesn't win Throw Pink, let's say. Neither of them wins Throw Pink. I think Kristen could still win it. And listen, I have been the advocate for Paige to win Player of the Year. Yeah. I am a guy that cares about the major championships 100%, but the consistency of Kristen Tattar this year has been unmatched. And the World Championships, that's the one you got to get.
Yeah. I still think Kristen needs at least 1 more win, though. And Paige can't win anymore.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
If season ended today, 100% agree with you. I think she probably needs to win Worlds or win multiple other tournaments. But I think a lot of people are saying she's the favorite right now heading into the World Championships. Kristen, do you feel that way?
Yes.
I think she's the odds-on favorite?
I really do. And I know that, I think Paige put it best when she says that, when you look at Worlds competition, there are lots of good players, but you always want those players who, especially in odds, or if you're looking at your competition, who have been there, who've won that tournament before. So when they go to sleep on a final round lead, or knowing they need to make a push in final round, that it's not keeping them up at night. It's a place that they've been before. Kristen Tattar has a major win, and while I get that Paige and Katrina have been there, I just don't care. Kristen has been too good this year, and as long as she feels healthy going into Worlds, odds-on favorite.
I said it in the React show, and I'll say it again. It's got to be Paige. She has to be the favorite. And I know she played bad this weekend, and I know that she's been inconsistent, but look at the tournaments where it counts the most. She shows up every time. And yeah, Katrina beat her last year, but Paige has proven time and time again that, like, when you think that she's not playing well and that she's, that's it, what's going on with Paige, she shows up and has an amazing tournament. And I think we're going to see that again here. I don't know if she's going to win. We're going to make our picks on Thursday, probably, maybe Monday. And, I'll make my official prediction then. But I think that she has to be considered the favorite. Kristen Tattar blew a lead to Paige Pierce at a major just a couple months ago. People forget that. Paige knows how to win the majors. Maybe. I won't argue. I think Kristen has looked the best in FPO like the last 2 tournaments.
It'll be exciting.
It will.
Yeah, maybe Champions Cup puts a little bit of a knock on my playing with a lead statement, but
that's the thing. The majors are different.
They are.
Evelina Salonen went bogey free this weekend, despite some of the putting issues. Obviously, continuing to throw the disc incredibly well. You look at the stat. You don't even need to look at the stats to know it. Kristen Tattar did beat Evelina out by a couple of tenths of a point in strokes gained tee to green. Evelina was a little bit minus in the putting category. Kristen, just 3 strokes gained putting. Solid performance, not spectacular. But, Evelina, Josh, Evelina is a player, if you're getting good odds on her next week, that you have to think about putting some money on. I just think that all it takes is for her to not be awful putting, and she can win. She was close this weekend. She's been close a couple times in the last 2 months.
Well, and you've said this best, but when you get to a long course that has wind, putting becomes undervalued. And I agree with you. I think that's going to play to Evelina's advantage. If I had to pick a tournament that I like Evelina at based on the season, Worlds is absolutely one that you have to include in that list. So,
a couple other players picking it up at the right time, perhaps. Macy Vela Diaz getting a podium finish, bogey-free round 1, and looking like she's sharpening up. We've obviously seen her around the top of the leaderboard a bunch last year, not so much this season. Kona Panis put her first bogey-free round together in the last 2 years. And it's her first top 10 finish since Texas State's. She shot the hot round in the final round. So, the putting's still not there, but you have to feel better about what you're seeing from Kona.
Mm-hmm. Nice to see her perform well. It's been a while. So good. Congratulations to Kona it has to feel amazing because coming off of missing cash at Ledgestone and not making the cut, you got to imagine that she feels great about getting back in and having a solid performance this weekend.
We'll note, though, that she was still 14 shots back of Kristen. Lots of names up in the top 10, though, that I think we're going to see in the top 10 at Worlds. Tattar, Salonen, Vela Diaz, Kat Murch, Sarah Hokum, Erica Stinchcombe, Pierce, Panis, Hannah Blomroos, Heidi Lane, and Valerie Mondahano and Katrina Allen sitting just outside that top 10, along with Missy Gannon. That's a hit parade right there. That's the group that's going to be fighting for the World Championship.
Mm-hmm. One quick note. I was trying to pull it up and forgot that the national tour was a thing last year, so I couldn't find it in the pro tour. Macy Vela Diaz actually took 3rd at the Dynamic Discs Open last year. It's really where we saw kind of her name pop up as a competitor, and so that's someone nice place to it's a nice time to get hot for her right before going back to Emporia.
We're going to be talking Emporia stats on Thursday, so make sure you join us for that. All right, let's take a break. We got some news to discuss when we come back here on the Upshot.
The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bag in the sport. Charlie, I also received my Rufus, courtesy of Pound. I've got the blue and purple look. Yeah, it looks straight out of an 80s TV show. I love it. Took mine out this weekend, got it broken in, and I took it up on a course. I've talked about this course before. It's one of my favorite courses. It's called the Nordic Center. It's up on a cross-country ski hit course up in the mountains that's repurposed for disc golf in the summer. Just some of the most incredible views, but it is long. There's tons of elevation. I'm always trying to bring extra water, and I never want to carry. I love my Octothorpe. It rides great, but it's heavy. And I'm telling you, man, this Rufus was incredible. I've been trying mid-sized bags to try for rounds at the Nordic Center primarily because I wanted something smaller. I wanted to carry less discs, but still have the water and everything else that I carry with me. I've been disappointed by bags that are uncomfortable, don't get the discs out well, or have broken on me in a couple months. And I'm telling you, the Rufus is the best thing that's happened. They still have a couple of the first run left. The second run will be coming out soon. Make sure to check out all the options at pounddiscgolf.com.
Welcome back to the Upshot. Well, it's time to talk about some news. This is the drama and disc golf segment, or something like that, because we've got a lot of it lately. And this is breaking right now. Like, the reason we're even able to talk about this is because we recorded our show late. Emporia Gazette, the local newspaper in Emporia, posting an article about a disturbance at the Emporia Country Club involving a professional disc golfer. Police were called. Situation was handled. Not really any details given about exactly what it is that happened. But the, like weird situation, sort of an unnamed player. And then there's a quote in there from, who is this? This is Captain Ray Mattis of the Emporia Police Department. I have no idea if Paige Pierce was involved in this incident, but it is the only one we have at their location recently. Jeff Jacquois, who is the competition director at the PDGA, was also quoted in the story. He said in this quote, "I can't express enough our disappointment on our organization's end. Sometimes these players just get a little too demanding and don't understand the amount of work it takes to make these events happen and the partnerships that are created. And we really don't like damaging partnerships." Now, this article was taken down from the Gazette website only a couple hours after it was published. So unclear what's going on there. I called the Emporia newsroom, didn't get through to anybody. I'm going to keep trying them. We basically had to stop trying to figure out what was going on with this to record this podcast. Since we've been recording this podcast, I got a statement from Paige Pierce emailed over by her agent, Blake Schaefer. And here's what it says. I'm going to read it in full. On Monday, August 23rd, Paige Pierce was attempting to play a practice round at Emporia Country Club to prepare for the World Championships. Paige was given a cart key and told where to get the cart by a member of the country club. When approaching the first tee, Paige was told by an employee of the country club that the course was closed. When Paige asked to speak to a manager, the request was denied. Paige believed this to be a miscommunication. She was then told by another employee of the country club that they were calling the police. Paige collected her things and decided to leave the course. She was not escorted from the course and was not approached by any police. This is a non-issue and a misunderstanding, as she was trying to practice for the World Championships only 8 days before they begin. Paige is looking forward to competing and is focused on winning her 6th World Championship. So, I will say this. From the people I've talked to, this largely aligns with what I have heard. Apparently, there on Mondays is a members-only day at Emporia Country Club, and that, I think, is what led to the friction here. I called the country club. I asked to speak to somebody about this, and I was told that I needed to call back the next day because when I called, it was, I think, after 5 p.m. and people had gone home, but nobody was there to take the call. So I will be calling back tomorrow. So I don't have a ton of more detail to share, but this does align largely with what I have heard. Josh, what do you make of this whole fracas?
Couple of things. Number one, I think it shows a lack of planning or communication at the very least about the expectations of practice rounds going into Worlds. I don't know who the blame goes to there, or if it is a large issue that, what maybe it was communicated and Paige was the only one who didn't hear about this, in which case maybe it is on her. Maybe it wasn't communicated to players writ large, and Paige getting over there early just happened to suffer from that lack of communication. Not pointing fingers at anybody, but it seems like there was at least some level of miscommunication about what was allowed for practice rounds on Monday. Second, love sports drama of any variety, and I think it makes for great entertainment and things for people to follow. Third, I just don't think it has any real meaningful impact on anything.
Listen, the Holy Shot is releasing tomorrow on Disc Golf Network. It's a documentary that's produced by the PDGA about last year's World Championships. And I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I will watch it. Josh, you'll watch it. We'll probably talk about it leading up to the tournament. But I know that they directly tackle some of the failures that the PDGA had last year, which I think is great. I think it's fantastic. I can't wait to see that. And I'm excited the PDGA has really started to own some of these things that were causing a lot of friction a year ago. They've made a lot of positive changes. We've seen, organizational overhaul. But the fact that we're coming into the 2022 World Championships now with everything that happened last year and all that drama, and it's, you can tell from the way that the quote in the statement is written, 8 days before the World Championship, trying to practice and being hassled by the country club and being told the police are being called. Listen, it's just not good. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what the expectation should be from players about when courses are ready to be played. And I know that, think about the quote from Jeff Jacquot that was in this spiked Gazette piece. They have to deal with the country club, and the country club is a place where golfers come and play golf. And you can't just be well, we want the country club for the entire month, but maybe you can. Right. So my point is, how are we in the situation again where this is going to be the conversation leading into the World Championships? It's a terrible situation for the PDGA to be dealing with this. It's a terrible situation. And obviously we'll find out more information. This is a statement. The factual nature of the statement has not yet been validated, although, like I said, it does line up with mostly what I've heard about the overall circumstance. Paige has declined to comment further. I did ask about speaking to her on the phone. She's trying to just focus on the tournament. And I don't know when the courses should be closed and fully prepared for players to come and play practice rounds and get ready for the World Championships. But to me, the answer should be probably at least 2 weeks, if not really honestly, maybe an entire month. I mean, what are we waiting for? I mean, and I understand the country club situation, right? It's not a regular tournament. It shouldn't be 3 days. I'm sure the plan was not for it to be 3 days, but it was 8 days, and we're having this happen to the top player in the sport who just had a documentary released, and it's just brutal. It's just brutal optics.
Charlie, are we going to be having Nate Heinold on for a sunglasses required interview where he's going to disparage Paige?
I think it was kind of a jerk move, Josh, if I'm being honest with you.
Do you
I don't really know.
Do you think there's a driving range available for the players?
Oh man, I don't understand how we're here again, but here we are. I hope that this is a little blip, and that we all move forward and things are great. That's what I hope.
Let me give the devil's advocate side for the PDGA here. Let's imagine a world. Let's say Mondays are members only. It's their exclusive events. Maybe it's leagues, right? Maybe it's golf leagues on Mondays.
Sure.
There's a possibility that this course has been available to practice for the past month, and they just said Mondays only. Please don't play.
Good point.
The country club has asked us to stay off on Mondays, but they've given us access to extended hours and opportunities where they've told the golfers that they need to give the right of way to disc golfers. I just don't know, right? So
we're gonna try to get answers to these questions.
We're gonna try and get answers. Yes, but I'm not quite ready to hit the PDGA with the bus.
I'm not either. So, I just think it's tough optics,
tough timing
based on what happened last time.
Yes, and that I think I can agree with.
Yeah. So on to the next thing, which is that Discmania CEO Jussi Meresmaa was arrested in Sweden for soliciting prostitution. This happened a few weeks back now, and hit the press in the last week or two. Really, I guess just over the last few days.
Over the weekend, I think.
Subsequently, Jussi released a statement on his personal Instagram. There was also a statement released from Discmania, and he is going to be taking a leave of absence from his job as the CEO of Discmania He is married. He has children as well. He said in his statement, "This is the hardest message I have ever written. I have committed a crime that will have consequences for me, my family, and my company. I have been convicted buying sex from adults in Sweden. What I did was horrible and wrong. I have cruelly broken the trust of my family and all people who know me. There's absolutely nothing that supports the action I did, and I will take full responsibility for it. I've started to take action to find help for my problem. My goal now is to support my mourning family. This is the only time I'm going to talk or comment about this incident in public, and I will not comment on my personal life any further. I will take a leave of absence and try to be with my family. I'm truly sorry for everyone that I have hurt with this." Josh, this is, frankly, it's a bizarre story. When you saw this news, what was your reaction?
My gut reaction, and this probably isn't the appropriate gut reaction, but it still is my gut reaction, is like, number one, UC's got how he deals with this in his personal life is his personal life. I don't know what the levels of crime are like, misdemeanor, felony, etc. in Sweden. I just don't know the Swedish justice system well enough. But what I can tell you is when I look relative to the things that professional sports excuse in the United States, I don't know, a Cleveland organization, the first one coming to mind being in the news lately. I don't know. It feels like the consequences of UC's actions are a greater implication in his personal life than in his professional life. And good for him taking leave of absence. I hope he's able to take care of those things in his personal life. I think long term, though, he should be able to continue back with Discmania. And I hope that we move on from this situation quickly, because I think UC is an important figure in our sport who does a lot of good. And I, don't want to get into the morality or legality argument, because it's an ongoing debate right now. The legality of sex work, both in the United States as well as in European countries. It's notable that in Sweden, selling sex work is not a crime, from what I have seen, but purchasing sex work is. This, I think, is without a doubt. It just feels like it's much more affects UC's personal life than anything that affects me as a Discmania fan, as a disc golf fan, as a disc golf consumer. And that's kind of where I leave it for UC, in my opinion. But what about you, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, let's say it was legal. Let's say it was legal. It was fully legal. Yeah. He got caught, and it was in the newspapers. But it was legal. But CEO of this big Finnish company who has a family, caught having sex with a prostitute or whatever.
Right.
Does it change this story in any way? Barely for me. I mean, yes, there's some legal implication about what's it going to be. A marginal fine, maybe a couple days in jail. I mean, this is it's not going to be something that is going to have some kind of lasting impact on the company or him as a person. Now, obviously, in his own individual family life, yeah, this is totally devastating. And there's probably people who are, Discmania employees and sponsored players and everything who are probably shocked by the situation.
Sure.
And I'll tell you this, somebody texted me right away and they said, there goes 2024 World Championships in Europe. And you know what? They might not be wrong. That decision's coming up. And we've been talking for years about Europe getting a world championship over there. And UC's been the one who declined to put in a bid for 2023 because they didn't feel like they were ready after COVID. And the bid, I think, is already in. But the decision hasn't been made yet by the PDGA. And now you have this. That has a real impact on disc golf, potentially.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that PDGA should make the decision based on this, but that's a lot of uncertainty to throw into the mix as you're trying to make a big decision about where the next World Championships is going to be.
Right. At the very least, if UC's listed as the TD for that bid, you have to think that you reach out to UC and ask if Are you intending on being back at that time? Is this still the
Sure.
bid as you want to present it? Right. Those are, I think, the logistical questions that have to be answered
100%.
before you can award that bid.
And like, isn't that enough?
Could be reason.
If you're the PDGA, isn't that enough? Isn't that enough? Just like question marks and uncertainty, regardless, to just be like, well, not yet.
Yes, it is.
And you know, no one's going to die if we don't have Worlds in Europe in 2024. But it's like 2-3 years delayed. It almost feels like, and now it's going to probably get delayed again. I mean, I don't know, but look, I think, I hope that UC is able to work this through with his family and his people in his life. And I think it will be appropriate for him to return to work at Discmania after, I don't know, a couple weeks, month. I don't even know that I care. I don't care. Like, this doesn't affect my thinking about Discmania. Like,
No.
This is the kind of thing where it's like, people, when it comes to sex and money and drugs and alcohol and stuff, like, people make mistakes.
I mean, here's the other thing about UC. Like, I never looked up to UC as like a moral figure. It's not that I didn't see him as a good person. That's not who UC was to me in my life, right? UC is a passionate European disc golfer who does amazing things for the sport over in Europe. Whatever else is kind of in that other category, I didn't know about before and didn't really care about. Now I know a little bit more about, and still don't know if I care that much about it. Right? That's really how I feel about it. And I think if you're at that, I don't really know if I have that much else to say. Like,
I don't either. What else is there to say? It's a lurid story. It's a shocking headline. It's probably not going to affect much of anything.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for this edition of the Upshot. Thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, we've got a ton coming up. Now is the time to get a subscription, because we're going to be doing live react shows after every single round of the World Championships next week. We've got our Thursday show coming up where we're going to be previewing. We're going to do more preview stuff coming out early next week on Monday. I'm headed out to Emporia. I'll be commentating on the FPO action on the Disc Golf Network. So I'm excited to be on the ground in Emporia, bringing you the sights and sounds. And I'm sure we're going to get some great interviews while we're there. Super excited. You can become a subscriber for less than $4 a month. discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you Thursday right here on The Upshot.